The night shift is a lonely time. The world outside sleeps, leaving you in a bubble of silence, punctuated only by the hum of machinery and the distant groan of a settling building. For John, a veteran security guard, this was his world. He'd spent years watching the endless cycle of empty hallways and darkened offices through a bank of monitors. It was usually mind-numbingly dull, a predictable dance of shadows and light. But some nights are different. Some nights, the silence has teeth. John took a long sip of his lukewarm coffee, the bitter taste of familiar companion. He was halfway through his shift at the monolithic Sterling Corp Tower, a place that felt like a tomb after everyone went home. His eyes scanned the grid of screens, each showing a perfectly still, perfectly empty scene. All except one. Camera 12. The black rectangle in the bottom right corner was a permanent fixture. A dead eye staring back at him. It pointed at the sub-basement access corridor, but the camera itself had been fried for years. Management never bothered to fix it. "No one goes down there anyway," they'd said. He stretched, his joints popping in the quiet control room. A glance at the digital clock on the wall. 3:32 a.m. The witching hour, as some called it. John just called it the coffee refill hour. He was about to get up when a flicker of light caught his eye. He froze. The black rectangle of camera 12 wasn't black anymore. It was alive. A grainy, black and white image filled the screen, showing the long, concrete hallway of the sub-basement. The feed was staticky, wavering, but it was unmistakably there. John leaned forward, his heart starting to beat a little faster. How was this possible? The camera was disconnected, the wiring cut. He squinted at the screen. The hallway was empty, just as it should be. Probably a short circuit, a freak power surge. He was about to dismiss it when he saw it. In the center of the hallway, far down toward the maintenance door, stood a figure. It was tall, impossibly tall, and completely cloaked in shadow, a stark, black silhouette against the gray concrete. It was just standing there, perfectly still. A chill that had nothing to do with the office air conditioning snaked its way up John's spine. His first instinct, born of years of training, was to investigate. A prank. He had to know. He grabbed his heavy mag light and clipped his radio to his belt. "This is Unit 1, doing a sweep of the sub-basement. Possible unauthorized presence," he mumbled into the radio, more out of habit than anything else. The only reply was static. The elevator ride down felt like a descent into the underworld. The fluorescent lights hummed erratically, casting long, dancing shadows. The air grew colder, heavier, with a damp, earthy smell. The doors opened with a reluctant screech, revealing the access corridor. It was exactly as it appeared on the monitor. John swept his flashlight beam down the hall. The powerful light cut through the gloom, illuminating every crack in the concrete, every cobweb in the corners. But there was nothing. No figure. No one. The hallway was completely, utterly empty. He walked its length, his footsteps echoing unnervingly in the oppressive silence. He checked the maintenance door, locked tight, covered in a layer of undisturbed dust. He ran his hand along the wall where the figure had stood. Cold, rough concrete. Nothing. A sigh of relief escaped his lips. It must have been a glitch, a phantom on the screen, a trick of the light and old, faulty wiring. He shook his head, feeling foolish, getting spooked by shadows. "Old man," he chuckled to himself. He radioed back to the empty airwaves. "Unit 1. Sub-basement is clear. False alarm." The static crackled in response. He took the elevator back up, the ascent feeling quicker, lighter. Stepping back into his control room, he felt the warmth and familiarity wash over him. He sat back down, ready to laugh it off and get back to his coffee. Then he looked at the monitors. His blood ran cold. Camera 12 was still on. The grainy, black and white feed of the sub-basement hallway filled the screen. And standing in the exact spot he had just been, bathed in the faint glow from the elevator bay, was a figure. It was him. He was watching himself on the screen, standing down in the sub-basement. But that was impossible. He was right here, sitting in his chair, 100 feet above. His mind reeled, struggling to process the paradox. He stared, transfixed, as the image of himself on the screen, the one in the basement, remained perfectly still. A cold dread, thick and suffocating, settled in his chest. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't a trick. This was something else. Something wrong. Then, the figure on the screen moved. It wasn't the jerky, pixelated movement of a bad video feed. It was slow, deliberate, unnatural. The head of the figure, his head began to turn, not towards the maintenance door, not towards the elevator, but towards the camera. The camera that was watching it. The camera that was in the room with John. As the face on the screen turned into the light, John saw that it wasn't his face. The features were warped, stretched, a grotesque parody. The eyes were black, empty pits, and they were looking right at him. Not at the camera lens in the basement, but through it, through the screen, through the air, directly into John's soul. A silent, knowing gaze that held an ancient, chilling intelligence. A single, sharp crack echoed through the control room as every light, every monitor, every piece of equipment went dead. John was plunged into absolute darkness and an even more absolute silence. The sudden sensory deprivation was terrifying. He fumbled for his mag light, his hands shaking violently. He couldn't find it. A was blind. Then, a sound broke the silence. A soft hissing, a whisper of static. It was coming from his radio, still clipped to his belt. He fumbled for it, turning up the volume. The static grew louder, coalescing into a voice, a dry, rasping whisper that seemed to come from 1,000 different throats at once. It said, "You're not watching." "We are." The voice cut out, replaced by the dead hiss of static. John didn't move. He didn't breathe. He just sat there in the dark, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird, until the first rays of dawn crept through the windows. The next morning, the maintenance crew found everything back to normal. The power was on. The monitors were humming. They couldn't find any record of an outage. The footage from the previous night was gone, erased from the server. And Camera 12, it was just a black, dead rectangle in the corner of the screen. A technician confirmed what everyone already knew. The wiring was completely severed. It hadn't been active in years. But when the first employees of the day arrived, they found something new. Deep, jagged scratch marks marred the heavy steel door of the sub-basement, like something had been trying to get out, or something had been trying to get in. John still works there. He still sits in that same chair, watching the same empty hallways. The money's good, and he needs the job, but he never ever looks at the bottom right corner of the monitor grid. He never looks at camera 12 again, because he knows. He knows that just because you can't see it, doesn't mean it isn't watching you back. If you work the night shift, remember these? Some places don't sleep. Some things don't leave. And sometimes, you're not alone. Even when you think you are. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Tales from the Dark. Thanks for watching.